This is the Old Musician's Blog 68. 68? I'm pretty sure it's 68. Maybe it's 67. These days it's a little hard to remember, and sometimes I even forget my own age by a year or two here or there, depending on the situation. Well, I just came in from the bakery, and it was a really good morning. There was those moments of disjointed music, as there always is in these things, but where everyone has a different idea of where they are in the song and things like that. But there was a good spirit in the room, and it was such a rainy day. The rain poured and poured and poured last night, and I was so glad that I brought the green ladies inside and put them in the bathtub because, I don't think they would have tolerated it, being newly outdoors, and so anyway, brought them in for the night. I don't know. It's kind of cold out there, and I don't know if I'll take them out. Not today, anyway. Maybe tomorrow. I think there's a few good days coming. And so anyway, but because it was raining so hard, it was raining so hard. And that's another thing, is it's really easy to forget what I'm talking about, so don't expect, me to stay on any particular subject for any relative length of time. It could happen, but it might not. The bakery, everybody, it was packed in there. The place was jammed, we're playing, and it's kind of like, the usual stuff, we're playing, I think we opened with Blue Bossa, it's a safe tune, Clem wanted to play Minority, but he said we hadn't played it in a long time, but we played it a couple of weeks ago, and, I didn't want to open with that because it's kind of a hard tune anyway, and I mean, it's got a hard edge to it. It plays through pretty well, and, you could play it with a softer edge if you wanted, but the way it usually comes out in the group, and I like to open on a easy-going tune, so Blue Bossa was easy. I think I called that one, and I don't know, we went through different tunes, and let's see, Shelby came up to, that was in the second set, the beginning of the second set. Shelby came up to sing, and she sang Dance Me to the End of Love. A lot of people seem to like to do that one, so it wasn't like we'd never done it before. And Craig had that dance me to the beauty, I don't know, with your flaming violins, or whatever the heck the words are to that one. He had that little lick, so I just had to play some chords, and put a solo in on it. And, that was pretty easy. And Ed came up, and then we had a singer called Norm, and he sang, I'm beginning to see the light. And Ed had given him a chart, so he had a chart with him. And, so that was good because it was a lot easier to play it with the chart, I tell you. And, even with I Real Pro, for some reason, the chords of that song are kind of awkward. And I was glad that Ed was there because he could rip out a solo over that, and I always kind of stumble over my own self when I'm trying to solo over those changes, just because of the way they go, something about it. And, meanwhile, it was still raining out there, and, it was coming down, and, let's see, we had Scotty playing saxophone and flute, and Peter playing drums, and Clem playing bass, and Craig, of course, playing guitar. Craig sang Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me, and we hadn't done that in a long time, and I used to have that all memorized, and now it's kind of like gone out the windows, because you got to keep on your maintenance for these songs all the time, Otherwise, you don't completely lose them, because the more you play this music, the more you kind of can hear what the changes are, and your hands kind of automatically go to the right place. And I really like the way that starts to happen with this music. But there's other parts of it that I can't remember how the melody goes. I'll have to look it up and do it. And then Ed called Here's That Rainy Day, and he was having the same problem with that. It was like, and he wanted to do it really, really slow, and it wasn't working, and he called it off. And then I said, well, let's play it anyway, because I'll play the head, but it needs to be faster. And so we played that, and I played the head on that, and that was good. And the room stayed full up all the way through. And this other guy, who I don't know what his name is, I'd never seen him before, he decided he was going to pass the hat today. Well, it's not a hat; it's one of those big cookie jars that you have in bakeries, and they make a real good tip jar. But after the other week, where there was that big hullabaloo about whether Merrill should pass the tip jar or Shelby should pass the tip jar, and I called it off. I said, no, don't do that. It was like the universe wanted to pass the tip jar, so they sent this guy, and he passed the tip jar, and he filled it up with money, and there was a lot of money in there. And I think that was more money than we ever got. It was like 148, I think it was $148 or something like that. Anyway, it came out to $30 a piece, split 5 ways, and I gave Shelby the extra $3, because that's the way, it's always good to it's a good encouragement. There's nothing like a bit of money in your hand to encourage you to keep working on it. And so what then happened? Oh yeah, Lucy came in. She was in there, and I walked her back out to the car, and she'd gone off to have lunch with our friend Kay. And I don't know how much longer Kay will last, but she's lasted an amazingly long time at stage 5, and it's like, because she's lasted so long, sure, she can last a while longer too, and I just hope she goes on having a good time. That's the one thing that I really like about Kay, is that she has a good time no matter what, and comes out and does things, and she's a all-round good old girl. So, I'm glad my wife Lucy's friends with her. And I walked her out of the car and came back and played some more. And oh yeah, in the break, I'm thinking, I'm sitting at the piano. Sometimes Ed will start playing, a solo piece. I'm thinking, well, I could play a little bit here. So, I started in on a kind of quiet version of Pucciani, which is one of my tunes that's a work in progress that I'm working on. And you could feel that the room was kind of responding to it. They weren't really listening, because I wasn't playing it in a forceful way. I was just playing it in a way that merged with the sounds that were in the room, so it wasn't demanding the attention of anything. And it kind of had a nice vibe. And there was a few people who were listening. I'm not sure who they were, because I didn't want to take my eyes up over the room at that moment. And then the musicians came back up on stage, and they kind of don't often realize whether somebody's actually playing something or whether they're just fooling around. And to me, whenever you are on there, you want to try to make sounds that are friendly and appropriate to the room, and stick in that place of the room, so that you can have that musical influence and set up for the tune that's about to occur any moment now.